Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to another explainer where we take complex, captivating topics and break them down so you get straight to the core of the matter. Today, we're exploring a topic that has absolutely captivated human imagination since the dawn of time. We're talking about the paranormal. We're going to look at some of the most terrifying legends in history, and then we're going to use hard science and data to explain exactly what's really going on behind the scenes.
But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever woken up in the dead of night, completely frozen, feeling this overwhelming, unexplained dread? Or maybe you thought you saw a shadowy figure out of the corner of your eye? Well, if you have, you are definitely not alone. Humans have been experiencing these terrifying sensations for centuries, and honestly, it's spawned some of the most enduring mysteries in the world.
So, let's kick things off with some chilling tales of the paranormal. Humanity's obsession with the unexplained spans centuries. Take 1817, for example. The Bell family in Tennessee was tormented by a terrifying entity that spoke in a hateful woman's voice and supposedly even poisoned the father John Bell. Jump to 1912, and you have the brutal, entirely unsolved Villisca axe murders in Iowa. What makes that case so incredibly creepy is that after the murders, the killer covered all the mirrors and the victims' faces, cooked a meal, and just lingered in the house until morning. Gives you chills just thinking about it, right?
Then we have the 1977 Enfield poltergeist over in England. A single mother and her 4 children reported moving furniture and this relentless, heavy knocking. Police officers actually documented a chair moving across the room entirely on its own. But the most chilling part? A young girl named Janet began speaking in a gruff, demonic man's voice, claiming to be a previous occupant who died there, famously repeating the phrase, "I am still here." And the 1970s and 80s brought us even more terrifyingly specific details that really cemented these stories into global folklore. In the 1974 Amityville Horror, the Lutz family fled their home after just 28 days, reporting bleeding walls, a giant red-eyed pig named Jody, and the father waking up every single night at 3:15 a.m. That was the exact time the previous family was murdered there. Similarly, in the 1986 Smurl haunting in Pennsylvania, the family reported whispers in the walls, the sensation of cold hands grabbing them, and severe demonic activity that remained completely untouched even after religious rituals were performed.
Which brings us to a whole world of haunted places.
Now, it's easy to think of these as just isolated Western ghost stories, but the sheer volume and variety of haunted locations worldwide is pretty staggering. In Italy, Poveglia Island is notorious as a former plague quarantine zone and a 1922 asylum where a doctor allegedly went mad from the spirits. Over in Indonesia, Lawang Sewu, known as the Building of 1,000 Doors, is said to be haunted by the tragic events of World War II. Australia's Arats Asylum saw an estimated 13,000 deaths over 140 years, leaving a dark legacy of roaming spectral patients. And in the Netherlands, the Binnenveld Mansion is known as a haunted house tied directly to the horrors of the Battle of Arnhem. Every culture has its shadows.
Let's shift gears a bit and look at the Bermuda Triangle mystery. Moving our geographical focus from haunted buildings to the open ocean brings us to one of the absolute most pervasive mysteries of the 20th century. The modern legend of this area, that patch of sea between Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda, really captured the world's imagination in 1945. That's when Flight 19, a training mission of 5 U.S. Navy bombers, vanished entirely without a trace. I mean, they were just gone. This single disappearance sparked decades of wild theories and frantic media coverage, attributing crashes to the Triangle's destructive, mysterious forces. But well, the data tells a completely different story. Despite its legendary, almost mythical status, U.S. Coast Guard records show that the Bermuda Triangle actually does not experience a statistically unusual number of crashes compared to any other heavily traveled ocean route. In fact, a 2013 study listing the world's most dangerous waters didn't even feature the region. Kind of bursts the bubble, doesn't it? When you contrast the wild theories with the actual reality, the mystery starts to evaporate. People blamed leftover technology from Atlantis or space-time warps to parallel universes. Some even suggested giant methane bubbles from the seafloor were capsizing ships. But U.S. Geological Survey records show no significant methane releases there in the past 15,000 years. So what's the reality? Well, this area is super prone to converging storms that can generate massive 30-meter, that's 100-foot, rogue waves capable of sinking large boats. Furthermore, in the early 20th century, true geographic north and magnetic north perfectly aligned in the triangle, which caused genuine, documented navigational compass errors for sailors and pilots. Okay, this brings us to a hard pivot. We're moving away from the folklore, the ghosts, demons, and magic, to see how modern psychology, statistics, and neurology entirely rewrite our understanding of the supernatural.
Let's dive right into the science of the supernatural.
Here is where we introduce the heavy hitters of human biology that explain exactly why our brains trick us into seeing the impossible. Take telekinesis. The crucial point is that while we can't magically move things with our minds like a superhero, psychology and neurology show that this sensation is actually rooted in reality. During mind-over-matter experiments, people try to imagine small movements. What's actually happening is our brain's intense, highly developed visualization and physical motor coordination skills are working in overdrive. It literally makes us feel as though our thoughts are directly manipulating reality. And consider precognition, that eerie feeling that you've predicted the future. Science tells us this isn't magic either. Your brain is essentially acting as an incredible supercomputer. It's constantly working in the background to recognize subtle patterns, calculate statistical probabilities, and generate intuition. When you get that really strong gut feeling that something's gonna happen, it's often just your brain successfully processing data you didn't even realize you were observing. Next, let's examine the sleep paralysis connection. Now we're gonna dive into the physiological state that's responsible for a massive portion of the world's ghost, demon, and alien abduction sightings. Let me walk you through exactly what happens biologically during sleep paralysis, because it's wild. Step 1. You wake up physically, but your brain is still trapped in the REM phase of sleep. Step 2, you have complete awareness of your bedroom environment. You can see your walls, your door, everything. Step 3, your brain has temporarily disconnected your motor functions to stop you from acting out your dreams, resulting in a total inability to move your body. And finally, step 4, because you are half asleep and absolutely terrified, you experience intense visual and auditory hallucinations, crushing feelings of dread, and sometimes even near-death experiences. Being trapped in your own body directly simulates the exact feeling of a demonic attack or a poltergeist holding you down.
And the neurological data perfectly explains these terrors. A peer-reviewed study out of Goldsmiths University in London looked at 8,853 people. They found a direct, undeniable link. Individuals suffering from poor sleep quality, shorter sleep duration, and insomnia had a significantly higher belief in ghosts, demons, and the ability to communicate with the dead. Basically, our physical exhaustion and disrupted sleep cycles directly feed our brain's susceptibility to the paranormal.
So why do we love mysteries so much? If science can explain away the shifting coffins, the moving chairs, and those shadowy figures in our bedrooms, why do these legends persist so strongly? Well, as BBC Science Focus summarized perfectly when discussing the Bermuda Triangle, the real reason this legend has proved so persistent is much more mundane. People are naturally drawn to mystery. Once a myth is established, whether it's an ocean triangle or that spooky Amityville house, human psychology naturally craves the unknown. We practically rush to attribute completely normal events to mysterious forces. It's just human nature.
We've seen the terrifying folklore, the global obsession with haunted spaces, and the incredibly complex ways our own biology and environment trick us. So I leave you with this thought. The next time a floorboard creaks in the dark, or you feel a cold draft in an empty room, what will you choose to believe? Is it the spirit of a long-lost resident, or is it just the fascinating supercomputing power of your own mind? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.